Welcome to today's webinar titled Girl Tech, Mentoring Girls in STEM, presented by Jessica Bullock, who is the Girl Tech Site Coordinator, Francis Tuttle Technology Center, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. My name is Greg Nagy, and I am the Virtual Learning Community Manager from the Ohio State University, who provides technical support for the STEM Equity Pipeline project. Before we start the presentation, I would like to go over some housekeeping items for this webinar. This webinar is scheduled to last roughly 1 hour, and it's being recorded in order to view this presentation in its entirety later. The recorded webinar will be available in the next few days on the www.stemequitypipeline.org website. As you've already found out, you'll be watching the presenter present slides through the WebEx interface while listening to them talk over your phone. All the attendees' phones have been automatically muted. The presenter will answer questions after the presentation. However, we can take questions at any time. This is how we'll take questions. At any time during the presentation and during the Q&A, you may submit a question by typing it in the Q&A panel at the bottom right of your WebEx screen. The presenter or I will read and respond to these questions at the end of the presentation. I would like to start the webinar by introducing Mimi Lufkin, CEO, National Alliance for Partnerships and Equity Education Foundation. Mimi?
Thank you, Greg. Good afternoon, those of you who are on the East Coast, and mid-morning on the West Coast. It's a pleasure to be with you again. I am really looking forward to this webinar. In particular, Jessica Bullock from Francis Tuttle Career Technology Center has a great program to share with you. But before we get started, I'd like to give you a little background about how it is that we discovered the Girl Tech program and a little bit about a project that we're doing in collaboration with some other organizations. You'll notice in the slide that it says that the Girl Tech program is the 2009 Programs and Practices that Work Award winner. And this is a project that's a partnership between the National Association of State Directors of Career and Technical Education, the Association for Career and Technical Education, ourselves, the National Alliance for Partnerships and Equity, and the National Women's Law Center. The Programs and Practices that Work project is primarily focused on trying to identify exemplary programs that have been successful in increasing the participation of either males or females in non-traditional career and tech ed programs. And in this case, the Girl Tech program has been very successful in increasing the participation of females in their STEM-related career cluster programs at the center. The application process for this particular award is quite rigorous, and what I mean by that is that we look very carefully at the sites that apply for the award at their Perkins data, and they have to prove with the quantitative data analysis that they've done that indicates that they've been able to increase their performance on the non-traditional measure. So this is very specific to the Perkins accountability piece. And we're really interested in identifying models and best practices that actually work in increasing performance on the non-traditional measure, and then through a variety of methods, this being one of them, of course, sharing those practices with those of you in the field. There are actually 4 criteria that the evaluation of the project is determined. The first, the very first sort of hoop that they have to jump to before any evaluation of the application is done is they have to prove their increased performance on the accountability measure. But after that, then we look at 4 things. One is the quality of the program, the level of support that it's received, the connection to research that the program proves in its application. That's a research-based practice. We also looked at the impact of the program in other ways besides the quantitative process, any qualitative data that they can submit to us, whether it's success stories or anecdotal information about changes in student behavior or in attitudes, those kinds of things. Additional impact, maybe it's even increase in academic performance or improvement on some of the other measures. The third has to do with documentation, that the project is not housed in someone's brain, that we want to really see that the program has documentation available. Because of the 4th criteria, which deals with replicability, is the program documented in such a way that others could possibly replicate it in a fairly simplified manner, and the feasibility of that replication. So those are the things that we look for in the criteria around this award that's being given. There's recognition for Jessica and the folks at the Francis Tuttle Career Technology Center, and it occurs in a variety of places. Of course, this award is usually announced in early March to the beginning of the cycle in the spring at the Association for Career and Technical Education's National Policy Seminar in Washington, D.C., and then at the State Directors Conference in the spring, which is usually held in April. They're also announced there and recognized. We have a kind of a traveling roadshow that goes to these various conferences, a display that has information about the programs on it. We also announced the award at the Professional Development Institute in April. And then probably the most important piece of recognition is we bring our award winners into Washington, D.C., typically at the end of June or beginning of July, for a briefing on Capitol Hill where we recognize them and invite congressional leaders to attend a briefing to learn about their program as well as about all the work we're doing in this area. There's also an annual report that's created every year for this project that highlights information about the award-winning programs and also, some of the lessons learned from the projects that have applied. And those reports are available on the NAPE website if you go to www.napeequity.org. On the right-hand side of the home page, there's a link that says Programs and Practices at Work, and that'll take you to the pages that deal with this project, and the reports are all linked there if you're interested in looking at that. Just to let you know a little about some of the previous award winners, the programs that were recognized in 2005, there were actually 3 of them. Minot Public Schools, they have 3 programs that they were doing: Diva Tech, Define Your Dreams, and Technology on the Go. These were all event-related activities. And then the Michigan Breaking Traditions Award and the Northeast Community College Career Camp were also recognized. So if you want to learn about those, you can go to the website to find out about those programs. All of these were able to document increase in performance on their non-traditional measure as a result of these activities. In 2006, it was the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Supports, their non-traditional NTO Look program. At the time, it's now called the New Look program. Again, a great program if you're looking at doing self-study at your school to help identify barriers for students in the non-trad programs and then research-based solutions. And the Minneapolis Public Schools High-Tech Girls Society, which is actually a program that it's somewhat similar to Jessica's program, but it has some significant differences. Jessica's is a very strong mentoring project. But you might take a look also at the information about the Minneapolis program. And in 2007, it was Seattle Public Schools Ignite, involving girls now in technology evolution, a program that increased their participation of girls in their computer science courses and information technology related courses from about 12% to over 50% in about a 4-year time span. And the honorable mention programs that year, one was Respiratory Care Program at St. Paul College and Northeast Community College's mentoring program, which was really focused on retention. So here, this is the actual web page link to the Programs and Practices at Work project. But if you go just to napeequity.org on the home page, there's a link there. There's on the right-hand side, I mentioned before, a button on the right-hand side that says Programs and Practices at Work. You can learn more about it. But all that being said, what's most importantly about today's webinar is for you to learn more about Francis Tuttle Career Technology Center's Girl Tech program and the 2009 Programs and Practices at Work Award winner. And so I'm going to go ahead now and pass the ball on to Jessica and have her talk with you about their program and all the great things that are going on there. Jessica, it's yours.
Okay, thanks, Mimi. Well, I'm really excited about the opportunity to share with all of you information regarding our Girl Tech program. Before I really get into how you would replicate such a program, I wanted to give you a little background information as to how the program even started. Girl Tech is actually a state-run program, and it's run through various technology centers in the state of Oklahoma, but it is governed by our Oklahoma Department of Career and Technology Education. Francis Tuttle was actually the pilot site when the State Department decided that they wanted to have a mentoring program specifically for females going or wanting to go into STEM careers. A lot of research was done before the program was even implemented. We have two main universities in the state that were instrumental in providing us with information as to what they're seeing in college that freshman year when females come in and they are majoring in pre-med or engineering. What both Oklahoma State University and the University of Oklahoma reported were the students were not ready for the rigor of the math and science. And the change in major that they were seeing from female students was huge. By the end of the semester, these students had either dropped out of college completely or had at least changed their major. And so getting that information, we really wanted to find a way that we could attract and retain females to non-traditional careers. About the same time, Francis Tuttle started the Pre-Engineering Academy, which is a program for high school girls interested in going into engineering, and they actually take their AP Math and Science and their engineering courses with us. So not only were we wanting to prepare these girls for what they were going to face in their post-secondary education, but we needed to find a way here at the Tech Center how we could hold on to those girls and encourage them to stay, because in many cases, and we're still seeing it today, girls in our math and science classes, there might only be 2 or 3, sometimes even 1. So we really wanted to be able to help these girls, to nurture them, to mentor them, to continue. But we do know that it still remains a challenge for several of the girls, just the differences between males and females. Some information just on mentoring and research that was done in those initial phases when we started the program, that we do know girls are less likely to plan their courses in preparation for a career. And I think that is probably across the board. I know when I started college, I was taking courses because they looked like fun, not because I was really planning for what I wanted to do. Again, we are still seeing this, and this is why Girl Tech is such a great program, I believe, that through Girl Tech, these girls see a wide variety of occupations available to them. For females that don't have a mentor or don't have some type of a career guidance, they tend to limit themselves to some of your more traditional nurses, teachers, administrative assistants. And also, again, just kind of going off of that, but the girls still, they limit to traditional fields, and usually those do not pay as much. So Girls Tech was really a way to retain students, to help them plan for careers, to show them all of the opportunities available to them, and to help them reach the goals of getting those higher paying technical jobs. Let's see here. Some more information. We know that in some non-traditional jobs for women, that they can earn as much as 50 to 100% more in those fields because they're considered that minority. And we also know that having a career goal and having an end in sight for the student helps them achieve better in school. We know also that mentors help the girls recognize why they're doing well, why they need to continue to push through on their math and science courses, and those seem to be the most challenging when we're talking about physics and aerospace and trig. You know, we really want the students to feel that they can be successful and that this is going to lead to a great career for them. Mentors also help the students become realistic about the demands of a workplace, and I think that's one thing, and I'm very fortunate to have a group of mentors that have been with the program for the 4 years that it's actually been in existence, that they are very realistic with the girls, you know, of the challenges that they face on a day-to-day basis. And I'm going to go into talking about some of the training that we do, but some training we do directly does help the girls how they would deal with some of those situations. So despite gains in such fields as biology and medicine, women and girls continue to shy away from many science, engineering, and technology careers. I did a little research preparing for this webinar and found some interesting facts. The U.S. Department of Labor, their Women's Bureau, has a great report out there that lists every occupation you could probably think of that would be considered non-traditional for women. And so I just pulled out some statistics because these are obviously at Francis Tuttle, we focus a lot on our pre-engineering academy. We just implemented a new academy, our bioscience and medicine academy, and then we also have a computer programming program, network program, and cybersecurity. And so we are finding more and more high school girls entering those programs needing to have those mentors. But I thought it was interesting. When you look at engineering as an overall field, females only make up 11.5% of that population, which very, very small number. However, I will say if you go into specific fields in engineering, such as chemical engineering, I think it was around 22, 23%. So depending on the field of engineering, that percentage does change. And then, of course, you can see the computer programmers, 22.4%, and network computer systems administrators, 21.4%. Research shows that role models and mentors are an essential element of helping female students to be successful in non-traditional career paths. In order to help females be successful in non-traditional career paths, an online mentoring system was put into place. When Girl Tech first started, the majority of the mentoring was done online. The student, which we refer to as the mentee, and the mentor would communicate. Our requirement was at least once a week, although I took the program over 3 years ago, and I require a lot more communication because I think it's important. In order to foster a true relationship, you need to be communicating more than once a week. So that is a little change. But our overall program mission is to equip female students with skills to pursue careers in information technology, scientific research, and engineering. Throughout the year, students will participate in activities that are designed specifically to provide career awareness, looking at different IT, scientific research, and engineering fields that they may not have known beforehand, and helping them, kind of giving them career guidance. And we really do want them to get out there and explore all there is to offer. So many times we find that the girls come in and they have it set in their mind that they want to be a chemical engineer, but then as they start talking with their mentor, they realize quickly that that may not actually be the right fit for them. So it gives them an opportunity to explore a little more. And I think I kind of just jumped ahead and touched on this slide a little bit, just developing skills to pursue different career opportunities within the STEM clusters. Okay, so now we get to the good stuff. Before I get started, I do want to point out Girl Tech is a Perkins-funded program. Up to about last year, we applied for a Perkins grant and money for the Girl Tech program through our traditional grant that the school submitted overall. Starting this year, we began having to complete a supplemental grant. So I took that responsibility on myself and actually specifically do a grant just for Girl Tech. That award is a $7,500, and that covers the hiring of facilitators to come in and do different sessions for us as far as soft skills training or leadership development training for the girls. It also helps cover any time we go to a College of Engineering Day or a med school visit, that pays for registration for the girls to attend. Some of the tech centers use a portion of that money to stipend the actual site coordinator. In the case of Francis Tuttle, we don't do that. Girl Tech falls under my regular responsibility. So I just wanted to kind of put that information out there for you guys because there is grant money available to initiate a program like this. In the case, and there have been some cases that for whatever reason the full funding was not available for a particular year. In that case, what our school has done is they've seen the importance, they see the outcome and the results, those quantitative results that we have, and so they actually provided some additional money so we could fund the program fully that 1 year. So the first thing that you would want to do if you're thinking of implementing...
I'm going to interrupt you just for a second.
Yes.
There's a question that's come up, and before you get into the techniques involved in implementing the program, let me ask you this. Mark Carter, who just asked a question, and it says, who was it that focused the emphasis on girls? Was it the state or the colleges and universities that saw the need? I think I mean, we know that we're talking about non-traditional careers and
Right.
CTE here, and girls in STEM is that. But I guess kind of playing off his question a little bit, do you feel that since the state's funding this specifically for girls in technology, have the colleges, I mean, are there women in engineering programs you're connecting with? Are the colleges and universities supportive of what you're doing? What sense have you gotten about your emphasis and focus on girls in this particular program?
Okay. Well, the State Department did decide when they implemented the program that they specifically wanted to focus on girls. We do still have some open dialogue with the universities, and they're still seeing some of an issue with girls their freshman year, having some difficulties, transitioning into that post-secondary environment.
Mm-hmm.
At Francis Tuttle, we decided that we would only focus on high school girls,
Mm-hmm.
specifically because when they go to college, they're in classes with males.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to equip them with the skills and the confidence that they would need to be able to speak up in class and do things like that. I will say, kind of a side note, we are one of 5 tech centers in the state that has a Girl Tech program, and we are the only one that focuses specifically on females in high school. Some of those other tech centers also have some post-secondary students that take part in the Girl Tech program. But we've never really looked at focusing or having a mentoring program for males just because our non-traditional for males is not that high.
Okay. Great.
Does
Thanks.
that answer it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Going back to steps to developing a program, the first thing definitely is to identify a site coordinator. And I would say this is definitely a very big component because if you're interested in getting Perkins funding, that site coordinator is going to be responsible for follow-up data. For me personally, I report to the State Department several times throughout the year. I provide them with pre-assessment information. Once I have my girls together, I get information from the girls and create a report from that. I do a post-assessment, which basically looks at the program, and the program is rated by both the student and the mentor that's involved. And then I also do a self-evaluation of things that worked for a program, things that did not work. And then I have an end-of-the-year report. And probably the end-of-the-year report is going to be the most important because it is what tracks to show who's graduating, what major are they claiming, are they a returning student to Francis Tuttle, and if so, are they returning in the same program that they participated in the Girl Tech program. So that's some information to keep in mind. I mean, the site coordinator is basically the owner of the project, and it does require some reporting if you're thinking about doing some type of grant funding. What we do each year, we recruit up to 25 female students. I will say that with our academies and how they work, our pre-engineering academy and our bioscience and medicine academy, female students in those 2 programs are actually here with us for 3 years. So if a student, let's say, joins Girl Tech their sophomore year, I do let them continue through their senior year because I think it's important, the longer we can keep that student with a mentor, the more benefit that student is going to get from that. So we always like to try and have 25 students. I get nominations from our career advisors and from our teachers, or if I know a student that maybe contacted me to find information about the Girl Tech program, I certainly will recruit that student and say, that I really think you should apply. I think this would be a valuable opportunity for you. Students do complete an application, and part of that application also has an interest profile. And that's really so we can start looking at, do they have a specific career goal, not just, I want to go into engineering or, I want to be a doctor. Is there a specific field of medicine that you're wanting to go into or a specific field of engineering? Because that helps us when we go to match them with a mentor. I will also say we do have one page that we require a recommendation from one of their current instructors just so we know that we have the blessing of the instructor to be pulling the girl from her classes to go through some training and to make sure that they feel the student academically, is a good fit for the program. So we do have one page that we require a recommendation from one of their current instructors just so we know that we have the blessing of the instructor to be pulling the girl from her classes to go through some training and to make sure that they feel the student can handle being part of Girl Tech while maintaining their grades. Once we have our applications in, I do conduct interviews with each student to talk to them. We look a lot at their interest profile. I share with them information as far as what we're going to be doing during the year and make sure that they can commit to taking part in those activities, because for the program to really be successful for the girl, they have to be willing to communicate with their mentor on a regular basis, and they have to be willing to participate in the different activities that we have scheduled throughout the year. When we recruit mentors, and I had mentioned earlier that I have several mentors that joined the program 4 years ago and stuck with us. When we first got that group of mentors together, we did utilize our advisory groups. For each program or career cluster that we have advisory groups. And so we were able to tap into those and get contacts from business and industry of individuals that would be interested in mentoring a student. Also, some of our instructors within our Pre-Engineering Academy and our Bioscience and Medicine Academy have put forth some contacts for us that have worked out. And then at times I will get recommendations from, for example, Chamber of Commerce one day sent me an email of an individual that wanted some information. They had heard about the Girl Tech program. So it comes from a number of different sources. When we look at matching up a student and a mentor, first and foremost, we want to match a student with a mentor that has the same career path. That can be challenging, and I will say mentors are not easy to come by. It's not that mentoring for the Girl Tech program is difficult, but it's, I think, the fear of the unknown. The mentor is afraid, oh, I'm not going to have enough time to communicate with the girl or participate in activities. When it comes to the mentor, we do invite them to our activities, which we usually meet every other month. Sometimes they can make it and sometimes they can't, and that's okay. The only thing that I ask is that they're at least communicating via email a few times a week, and it can be as simple as saying, how's your week going? You know, I'm not asking for novels and stuff. So sometimes getting the mentors to sign on can be challenging. Also, another challenge that I come across is, for example, last year I had 3 girls out of my 25, and they all have a career path that leads to becoming an architect. Well, I have one true architect mentor who majored in architecture, and I do have an architectural engineering mentor, but the two are different as far as what they do at work and their career. So sometimes I have several girls that may end up sharing a mentor just because I don't have enough mentors to cover everyone. So if by chance I have, for example, a student that wants to go into aerospace engineering and I don't have a mentor that can meet that particular career path, we'll look at what kind of interests are shared between the two of them. So that makes it a little bit easier. Again, as I mentioned, we do the online communication weekly, and I feel that it's really important that the girls try and speak to their mentor as much as possible, again, fostering those relationships. Some of the other activities that we do during the year, once I have my group of 25 together, we will hold a kickoff reception. And usually during that kickoff reception, I have a facilitator come in and we go through some type of a team building. That really opens up the doors. Everybody becomes comfortable with one another, and it opens up those lines of communication, which I think is great. Throughout the year, we meet approximately every other month, and we have done a number of different workshops. We do workshops on effective communication, assertiveness training. I mentioned the team building, networking, which I think is huge. You know, these girls that are in high school, you know, they're looking for internships that they can do during the summer, or maybe when they're going off to college looking for internships. So the networking component is wonderful. And I will say, just kind of a side note on that networking, several of our mentors invite the students to attend industry meetings, like the Society of Women Engineers. We've had several invitations open up to our students that they can actually go take place in these professional meetings, and that's a great networking opportunity for them. We also do some soft skills training in resume writing and interview skills. So I think all of those have been really great. Another thing that we encourage the girls to do is job shadowing. We really want them to understand what it's like to be a female in a non-traditional career, and the best way to do that really is to go to work with your mentor. So we encourage them to do that. We have done industry tours in the past, going to Boeing or going to Tinker Air Force Base to look at some of the things they have going on. That's always great because it helps open up the girls to some options they may not have otherwise thought of. In addition to that, we do encourage that anytime one of the universities has an engineering day or a pre-med day specifically for females, we encourage them to take part in those different activities. And then at the end of the year, we do an end-of-the-year celebration, and it's really more like just a reception, and that is when we have the mentors and the mentees fill out all of their post-assessment information. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we do throughout the year. Some of the outcomes.
Jessica, are there any peer mentors involved? Do you either other high school students or college level students, or do you always use professionals?
For the girls in our pre-engineering academy, we always use professionals. I will say with Bioscience and Medicine Academy, it was very, very challenging to get professional mentors involved. So we have started to rely on college students that are pre-med or starting in their specialization. And that seems to work out better just because the schedules of a neurosurgeon usually doesn't fit in with a high school student. So we've had to get a little creative with some of our other programs. But for the most part, we can find a professional, but I will say that medical one was a challenge for us.
Great. Thanks.
Okay. We're finding increased female participation in the completion of secondary and post-secondary students within the scientific research and engineering-related fields. So that is awesome. We also found, and this information was actually taken from our, some of the information was from our post-assessments that we've done, and we do ask the girls, do they have an increased knowledge of STEM-related careers? And their answer overwhelmingly is yes. So I feel that our mentors and our program are doing a good job in educating the girls. This is some specific information from pre-engineering, and I know I refer to pre-engineering a lot, but it really is, it's been in existence going on now for its 4th year, and it is where Girl Tech actually started. And with our Bioscience and Medicine Academy, we don't have data that goes back this far because we just started that particular program last year. So to me, this really says it all. If you look at the years listed, we're looking at the total number of seniors declaring STEM as a major. So in our first year, we had, out of 25 girls, we had 4 that were seniors, and all 4 of them declared STEM as a major in college. And then you can see throughout. So basically out of 21 students, we have had 20 students through follow-up. We found that they did claim STEM as a major, which I think is huge because that definitely meets one of the goals that we had for the program, is making sure these students are coming, they're getting some secondary training within the non-traditional career cluster that they're interested in, and they're carrying that on to post-secondary work. So I think that's really, really great. Some additional information here. When we recruit for our pre-engineering program, we utilize some of our current students to do that, and the female students are always Girl Tech members. And the reason why we do that is because we want the girls coming in to feel comfortable and that there are opportunities for them at Francis Tuttle aside from being in their pre-engineering class. Here are some statistics, and you can see each year our female enrollment in the program continues to jump. And I will say our newest information for the incoming group this August is actually now up to 25% of the applications that have been accepted are from females, which is obviously the biggest that we've ever had. So we feel that Girl Tech is not only a great recruitment tool, but it's also helping us retain those students as well. And here's just some information that I wanted to share that we continue to see. The relationships that clicked really clicked. And I do want to give you an example of a student. Her name is Shanae Watson, and she currently is, she will be in the fall a senior at MIT. She is from a rural community in Oklahoma, and her high school did not offer AP Math and Science courses. As a sophomore, she learned about Francis Tuttle and our Pre-Engineering Academy and actually decided to apply for the academy and was accepted. That first year, she joined Girl Tech, and she was matched with a mentor, and her mentor continued to communicate. And in fact, Shanae was looking for an internship in Oklahoma this summer, and she relied on her mentor to help her find a internship within the field that she wanted. Interestingly enough, Shanae did have an opportunity to intern with NASA this summer, and she chose to come back to Oklahoma, and I think her mentor had a lot to do with that because her mentor encouraged her, stick to what you really want to do and find an internship that's going to be directly related to your career path. But she's definitely one of our biggest success stories. Coming from a rural community, being accepted to MIT, receiving a full scholarship based on academics was huge. And then, of course, the relationship that she has had with her mentor, now going on 7 years, I think that is just awesome. The girls also love doing the job shadowing because it gets them out there. And, you know, it's one thing to say this is what an engineering does or this is what a doctor does, but it's another thing to go out there and see it. And, again, their career awareness has been strengthened throughout. The girls, and I can tell you this just from firsthand experience, they learn more about themselves and they gain confidence. And I see that when I start some of the girls that just graduated. When I first took over the program, they were sophomores, and you couldn't even get them to talk in a room that only had 6 people. And by the end of their 3 years here at Francis Tuttle, you can't get them to be quiet. So I do feel that they have confidence. I know from their instructors they're speaking up in class. In their math and science classes, they are leading projects and teams within their robotics class. And several of the pictures you saw, the girls have FIRST Robotics, and that is our robotics team that actually competes locally and internationally each year. And the girls feel overall that they're better prepared for their future and what they want to do. They're able to set goals, and they do learn a better understanding of what it's like to work in a male-dominated field. The first year we had Girl Tech, we did win a state award as Education Innovator of the Year. So the Girl Tech program overall is just a wonderful program. It gives the girls opportunities to learn about the career they're interested in, becoming comfortable with a mentor, setting career goals, and developing those relationships that I think are an integral part of them succeeding in their non-traditional career field. And that's all I have, and so if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Okay, just because there are a couple of questions in the Q&A box. And for those of you who haven't had a chance to ask a question or would like to do it, we're going to keep the phones muted a little bit longer. There are 2 ways you can ask a question. One is in the Q&A box on the right-hand side of your screen. If you type your question in the box, the blank box at the very bottom, and hit the send button, it'll pop up and I can ask the question for you. Or if you're inclined to want to ask it yourself, if you go to the participant section at the top of the right-hand section of your screen, you'll notice there's a place where you can click a hand icon, and that'll raise a hand next to your name, and we can unmute your phone so you can ask the question yourself if you're so inclined. But let's start with a question here from Geneva Lewis. It says, does the program provide academic support for the students, such as tutoring, test preparation, standardized test preparation, any of that sort of thing? So what kind of support services do you provide these students besides giving them a mentor?
Well, with the Girl Tech program, you know, when it comes to academics, several of the girls rely on their mentor for help. But I will say within our career clusters here at Francis Tuttle, like pre-engineering, a lot of our instructors within that hold weekly tutoring sessions. So a lot of that is not going to be done through our actual Girl Tech program just because we have several resources within our campuses that already provides that.
Right.
You know, each of our buildings has an academic center where students can go for additional help with math or science. And then again, usually our pre-engineering instructors and our bioscience and medicine academy instructors hold those tutoring sessions during the week to help students. And that's just kind of part of their role. So with the Girl Tech, we can focus more on the mentoring component and the career awareness aspect.
But you make sure that the girls in the Girl Tech program are aware of all those resources that are available to them and encourage them to take advantage of that. Is that part of their assertiveness training?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's always about asking questions. But, you know, the great thing, and I have to brag about Francis Tuttle a little bit, but the great thing
why
about
you're here.
I know. Well, the great thing about our non-traditional programs, especially our academies, our instructors are so hands-on that, you know, the classes are going to be smaller than what the kids experience in their regular high school to begin with. So the instructor is more in tune to what's going on academically and if they see a student having those challenges. But we do great orientation times. Specifically with our academies, we bring parents in at the end of the year for new coming students, and then when the year starts, in the beginning of the year, to educate not only the student but the parents on all of the resources that are also available. So, yeah, we have a lot of support.
That's super. I know you talked about this student who's at MIT, but there was a question that Carla Hansen asked about, do you encourage any of the mentors to keep up with the mentees after they arrive in college to be sure that there's retention in their STEM programs?
Well, a couple of things. We do encourage the mentor to continue that communication, and we find that more and more. In Shanae's case, her mentor they just hit it off. It was just one of those match made in heaven, I guess you could say. So they communicate every week. We have had some other students that do communicate as well, and we hope that they continue to communicate. So, and what was the other part of your question? Did that have two parts?
No, I think that was it. About whether or not that you encourage the mentors and the mentees to maintain their relationship. It sounds like that you encourage that, and it's also
we certainly do.
Thing that occurs over time. So, you mentioned a series of topics in some of the supplemental workshops that you provide to your students. I think maybe we blew by that slide a little bit too quickly. Someone said they wrote down assertiveness, networking, interviews, resumes, but they missed some of the others. Can you repeat what some of those topics are that you've done over the years?
Sure. We've done effective communication, assertiveness training, team building, networking, and resume building workshop, and an interview skills workshop.
And you bring in experts from the community that help you do these trainings, or do you?
That's correct, yes. And that's the majority of my funding that I get to run the program. That's how I pay for those experts to come in.
Good. Kind of going back to the funding, because there was a question that I answered through the chat function for someone about that. I just wanted to clarify a couple things. One is that you mentioned that you received a grant from the Oklahoma Department of Career and Tech Ed, $7,500. And I suspect, and this is probably because I know Oklahoma a little bit, that's money that's coming from, there's actually a set-aside of between $60,000 and $150,000 in the Perkins grant for state leadership activities. And in many states, and Oklahoma is one of them, they do small grant programs to local educational agencies using those dollars. And I suspect probably that's where the funding is coming from for this particular program. But I think you mentioned also that in previous years, or in years when you didn't have full funding or funding wasn't available, that you used your Perkins Basic Grant to fund this activity. Is that correct?
Well, before we were required to do the supplemental funding, which is what we're doing now, we would include it in our regular Perkins funding for the overall school.
Right.
And there is, I guess, a category that says, you know, specifically for non-traditional, what are you going to do for recruitment, retainment, and stuff like that.
Yep.
So we have received portions of funding through that. We always have requested to receive the full $7,500. In the cases that we have not received it, we do have another budget that my school actually provides through
local funds.
Yeah, a student leadership budget. Yeah.
Great. So it sounds like you have support from a variety of places to do this. So
yeah,
and that's a valuable thing, cobbling together resources. So if you lose one, you have other places to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and our administration, all of our instructors, we are required to do follow-up for 5 years after a student completes the program. So we are able, with the information that we have with these girls claiming STEM, our administration looks at that as, okay, this is a valuable program, and we need to continue to make sure that we're giving these females wanting to pursue careers in non-traditional areas an opportunity to have a mentor and learn about different careers. And so I think having administration's support is huge in this.
Right. I got a question about whether or not you have a manual describing how to start a mentoring program or what it is that you're doing there at Francis Tuttle. Do you have any actual hints and tips that are on paper form that you could share with folks? Or
I believe, and please, whoever is asking the question, or write down my email address, because if I give you incorrect information, I will definitely find it for you. But the Oklahoma Department of Career and Technology Education, and let me see if I have there. That website should get you to information, probably more information than you want about Girl Tech, but it will get you the information that I think that you're looking for as far as how you set up a program, what are some things you can do to implement a program, some additional resources. So check that website out, and then if you still have questions, please feel free to email me, and I will get you answers and information.
That's great. Thanks, Jessica.
You're welcome.
One more. How much time would you estimate it takes to recruit your mentors? Mentors.
Oh, well, I feel like on that I've kind of gotten off easy, because when I took over the program, it had already been in existence for a year, and so a lot of my mentors are still the same.
So you've had good retention of your mentors, huh?
What?
You have had really good retention with your mentors. They've hung in. You haven't burned them out.
No, and a lot of their comments are they wish they had something like this.
Yes.
When they were in high school or when they were going to college, and even when they were getting ready to graduate from college, because I think more and more the universities are starting to realize mentors are important. So I know we have a couple of girls that just graduated from college that they did not attend Francis Tuttle, but they are working now in engineering, and they had a mentor when they were in college. So I think that is really helpful. As far as my engineering mentors, that doesn't take that much time at all, because I have so many. For one, I already have mentors in place, so they are constantly sending me referrals, or I'm getting emails from people that are interested in possibly becoming a mentor. With the bioscience and medicine, it took a little bit more time. I can't give you an exact time. It was a lot of emails and a lot of phone calls, just trying to get the word out there and people interested. But any professional organizations that someone may have in the area, that's a great place to start.
Right. Do you do specific training with your mentors to prepare them for the relationships with the girls, and are there criteria that you follow? Like, one of the things we've discussed is this issue of whether you do background checks on people, that kind of thing.
We do. Actually, mentors are required to fill out an application. They do have to receive a signed permission from their supervisor, just saying, I understand my employee is wanting to participate as a mentor, and I agree to allow them to take part in the various activities. Then all of our mentors do go through an OSBI check, and OSBI stands for the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, just to make sure that they are eligible to participate in the program, because we do have some students and mentors that will meet for coffee on the weekends. They may not do all their activities here at the school, so to ensure the safety of our girls, we want to make sure that we are really setting them up with some good role models. At that point, once I have an application, do the background check. I do interview, and it's mainly I go over what is expected of them. You know, we expect you to be communicating with your student. If for some reason there's a lapse in communication, I ask them to let me know so we can figure out, you know, how can we help everyone to understand that the point of this, you need to be communicating for it to be effective. As far as any additional training, we really don't provide anything like that because we want the mentor and the girl to, you know, foster that relationship and determine what is going to be best for their situation. Mm-hmm. However, we do encourage that anytime we're doing some of these development workshops that the mentors at least try to attend. This year I had great success. I had several sessions that every mentor that I have actually attended, which was awesome because it's nice for the girl and the mentor to go through it. And a lot of the things that I hear from the mentor is, you know, I knew this stuff, but it's always good to have a refresher. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much all as far as the mentor goes.
That's good. There was a question about whether or not you've negotiated any college credit for the college-age volunteers. You said you were using some college students as mentors in your biotech and medical programs. Have you ever thought about maybe as an incentive for their participation to see if you could help get college credit for them, or is that something you haven't thought of?
No, it's something I haven't thought of.
That's okay. It's sometimes you get good feedback.
Yeah, I mean it's a great thought, but no, it's something we haven't thought of. And really with our the students that are in college that are helping out, you know, our medicine academy is it's so new that we're still kind of filling out the water and stuff like that. So and you know, I did mention it was challenging as far as that career field goes, and we try and get them with a mentor, but for those students within the Bioscience and Medicine Academy that we couldn't get a mentor, we did make sure that we could set up job shadowing opportunities for them. And in addition to that, many of our students within that program have an opportunity to go out to the hospitals and be in the room you know, when a surgery is going on and stuff like that. So although they may not have a lot of contact with the person performing the surgery, they're still in the environment, which is still good for them to see, you know, kind of what they're getting into and how everybody interacts with one another. So we've had to get a little creative with that one.
And how many, you say you have 25 girls, so do you have 25 mentors? Or, I mean, do you ever have one mentor working with more than one student?
We always have a mentor working with more than one student.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, I have a group of mentors of about 11 that are my returning mentors. But I have mentors that come and go on a yearly basis. So what I try and do is have those 11, match them up with girls. I'm always, anytime I get a reference from someone or a question, I always get back to the person or contact the person immediately because I'm always trying to find more mentors. I mean, you can never have enough mentors because you never know when someone's career is going to get so busy that they have to pull out. And unfortunately, sometimes that may happen in the middle of the year.
Right.
So that we've never been able to supply each girl with a mentor. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've always had two with one or more. And a lot of that is the girl will say, you know, we want to look at the actual path that they're going into. Well, if I only have one chemical engineer as a mentor and everyone else is something else, and that girl is saying, even if I have to share the mentor, I want a chemical engineer as my mentor, certainly we're going to match those girls by their career goals first. So. But there have been some years that we haven't even had full 25 girls. And that's something I actually dealt with last year. And it was basically because last year was the first year we actually had graduates from our pre-engineering academy because as I had mentioned earlier, it's a 3-year program. So, I'm sorry, a year ago spring is when they graduated. So last fall, we had a lot of new sophomores coming in, and they were just overwhelmed at the fact that they were taking these AP classes and taking robotics and taking engineering that it was not as easy to, I guess you could say, ease their mind on participating or applying to participate in Girl Tech.
Right.
But this year we have, throughout the year, again, those instructors over there have been wonderful, educating those girls on, this is the importance of Girl Tech. This is the importance of having a mentor. So I anticipate that my numbers going into this fall are going to go up quite a bit.
Right. Well, we have just about a minute or so to finish, and I know you probably have lots of stories, positive stories you can tell us, but just in a couple of words, what are the things that girls say to you about their mentoring experience that they find either is challenging for them or rewarding?
The challenging part, I would say, sometimes there are some lapses of communication, and really that goes both ways. I think sometimes it's just our girls get very involved with what they're doing at school and may forget to email their mentor, and their mentors may forget as well. So that definitely has to be a challenge. I think as far as the positive, the relationships that these girls are building with their mentors, they are relationships that are lasting, and they are encouraging relationships. And I think that's really important for these girls because they are matched with a female that works in a non-traditional career that can share their experiences and give the girls insight as to how best to approach going into a non-traditional career. So I think the benefits for the girls are just huge.
Yeah. Well, it certainly appears that way. Your outcomes have been very positive, and I must say, as an award winner, congratulations from all of us at NAPE, as well as the other three groups that are involved in this, the Programs of Practices at Work project. And Jessica, can you push the slides forward so that your email address pops up there again, so that if anyone has any further questions or wants to communicate with you directly, they can? Because I'm sure that there are lessons to be learned, and it sounds like you're more than willing to share with others, so we really appreciate that as well. And thank you for spending this hour with us. For those of you who don't know this, Jessica's responsible and totally in charge of the summer program at the Francis Tuttle Career Technology Center. She's principal and I don't know, probably chief cook and bottle washer too.
Actually, I do wash the tables after lunch. So.
Yeah. Yay. And lots to take care of, and so to step away from that for an hour to be with us is really, I can't thank you enough for doing this. And,
you're welcome. It was fun.
Yeah, and I encourage all the attendees to communicate directly with Jessica about the program if they have any more questions or want to learn more about it, and to visit the website that she had up earlier as well to find out more about the program. I'll turn this then over to Greg to do the closing housekeeping items, and look forward to more of the good work. And again, Jessica, thank you very much. Greg?
You're welcome.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us today. Remember that this webinar will be available on the www.stemequitypipeline.org website under the Professional Development heading and under Archived Webinars, probably by Monday. When you close your WebEx program, a few survey questions will open in your web browser that we would like for you to answer for us. Thank you all for your time.